If your career looks great on paper but feels exhausting in real life, this is for you. The Empowered Exit Guide helps you stop feeling stuck and start designing a career and life that actually fit. You don't need another pep talk. You need a plan. And you can get yours right now at KarenFreeland.com/empowered-exit. Welcome to Rock Your Reinvention. I'm Karen Freeland, your guide to ditching corporate and designing a life you love. If you're ready to shift your mindset, boost your confidence, and finally take action on that dream career or business, you're in the right place. It's your time. Let's rock your reinvention. Today's episode is based on hundreds of conversations that I've had with clients, potential clients, and women in general. And I have a feeling that this is going to resonate for you too. You are here for a reason. You know that you're meant for more. You feel that pull to leave your day job and start something of your own. But you just keep thinking, I don't have what it takes. Who am I to start a business? I just need one more certification. Once I feel more confident, then I'll make a move. If I had the right skills, this would feel easier. Let me say this up front. The skill you actually need isn't another credential. It's not something you can go to school for or you can take a training on. It's something far more innate. It's part of what's made you successful up to this point, which just proves that you already have it. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. It's perseverance. Yeah, that's the silver bullet. That's the secret sauce to success outside of corporate. Why does perseverance matter more than anything else? Here's what the research in real life tells us. Almost every single entrepreneur will experience setbacks, mistakes, rejection. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. And if you think otherwise, you're lying to yourself. So here's what you have to realize. Mistakes aren't a sign of doing it wrong. They're proof that you're doing it in the first place. And that's something a lot of people wish they could do. Think about it. Without failure, there's no feedback. Without feedback, there's no growth or learning. And without growth, there's no business. When you leave corporate, you are stepping into an environment where there's no clear ladder, no annual performance review. No one is telling you if you're doing it right. And if you're not doing it right, what to do better. And this is where perseverance becomes that deciding factor between succeeding or not. Sure, talent might help you start. Experience might give you some confidence. But perseverance is what keeps you going when the honeymoon phase ends. And believe me, it will end. I think mine exited the building right around 18 months, and I fell into this very deep slump. If you're on the path of starting a business or you're already running it, or maybe you're just thinking about it, let me be the first to tell you that you will face offers that flop, launches that underperform. If you've been around for a while, you probably remember my group coaching program, Success Without Sacrifice. I launched that offer 4 times, and 2 of the 4 times, no one signed up. Zilch, not a single person. And yet here I am 3 years later, still in business. No one remembers if I don't bring it up. I have lots of clients, and the world kept spinning. People are going to say no to you, or worse, in my opinion, they're going to say nothing at all. I hate being ghosted. It's the worst feeling, but it is par for the course when you have a business. You're going to have moments where you question if you made a huge mistake. Failed investments, poor hiring decisions, strained relationships. I mean, the list goes on. But the women who succeed in this environment aren't the ones who avoid those moments. They're the ones who don't quit when they happen. Perseverance is the ability to get knocked down, feel the disappointment, learn the lesson, and still show up again and again and again. I'll give you another example. This is more recent. Q1 2025, one of the worst quarters I have ever had in business, ever. And I was really wrestling with God. Like, what do you want me to do here? I thought you called me to coaching. What's going on? I have one client. I have no speaking gigs lined up. Do you want me to quit? Is there something else you want me to do? Just tell me, I'll go do it. But I was so frustrated because I just couldn't understand this lull in my business. And I was asking all the right questions and the tough questions. And through a lot of quiet, prayerful conversations, because I didn't have a lot of clients, so there wasn't a whole lot going on, I realized that God was just asking me to trust him, to finally relinquish control. And he just wanted me to acknowledge how much I actually need him, and that he'd already given me the mission to be a coach and a speaker. And I just needed to stop questioning it. So I put my head down. I did the hard work that I'd been avoiding. And you know what? 2025 ended up being one of my most profitable years for take-home pay as a business owner yet. But if I'd given up or walked away, I never would have achieved that. So what does perseverance actually look like in real life? Let's talk about it. Because if you're a type A high achieving woman, then we need to actually understand it's not going to look like hustle hard, right? It's not going to look like all the things that we did in corporate. So I want to make this as practical as possible. Perseverance is absolutely not grinding yourself into burnout. We're done with that. We don't live like that anymore. It is the determination to keep going when it isn't easy, or when the obstacles are bigger than you ever imagined they would be. It looks like, number one, staying disciplined, even when motivation fades. Because look, motivation is emotional, right? It relies on factors that you don't really have control over. You may not know why you're motivated or not motivated one day. But discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. Perseverance is choosing to show up when it feels boring, uncomfortable, clunky, or even slow. Building healthy habits in your business is what is going to make you successful. Things like setting those yearly goals for yourself and your business, creating detailed action plans beneath those to help you achieve your goals, and then setting out those daily activities that move you one step closer every day to realizing those goals. If you are not disciplined with the daily activities, you're going to have a really hard time being perseverant and getting through and achieving your goals. So you've got to stay disciplined. The second thing perseverance looks like is learning from setbacks instead of personalizing them. Don't make this mean something about you. That is a huge temptation that I see a lot of women fall into. A failed launch or offer does not mean that you are a failure. You have to separate yourself from the product or service that you offer. It just means that something didn't work, and now you have some data to fix it going forward. It's being able to pick yourself up when you fall flat on your face and get back to work. And maybe even have a few laughs about it, right? Because life is short and we don't have to take things so seriously. This also means giving yourself some honest feedback about what happened. Without judgment, though, right? I had a coach and she would always tell me to focus on facts and leave your feelings out of the debrief. Because every time we would do a launch, we would debrief what went well, what could I do differently? And she's like, just take the emotion out. And it was such excellent advice because I could really look at the situation so much more objectively and improve from it. The third thing it looks like is not taking no as a final answer, right? No never really means no. It just means not yet, or maybe not quite like that, or maybe not from this person. I can't tell you how many clients have said no initially, and then they come back later and they say yes to working together. And sometimes it's simply a timing thing, or the price point just wasn't quite right, or they didn't have the funds at that time. Sometimes they just simply weren't ready to put in the work, and it had more to do with their own belief in themselves than it had to do with me. The fourth thing when we think about perseverance is anchoring back to your why constantly. When things get hard, and take my word for it, they will, your why becomes the thing that keeps you in the game, right? Because you're leaving or left corporate for a reason. Maybe you wanted more time with your family, maybe to get out of a toxic environment or to heal from burnout. Maybe it was a deep call to something new or to follow your dreams, or maybe even set a good example for your kids that they never have to settle. Whatever the reason, you need to have your why written down so that you can anchor back to this. Whenever I'm struggling, I always remind myself how it felt to be in corporate, my life around me crumbling, and feeling totally alone. No one else seemed to have the same feelings that I had, or at least I thought, right? No one was talking about it. And I honestly relegated myself to that existence. I was just like, this is it. I'm going to die in corporate in this house in New Jersey, and this is my life, and I better just suck it up. And then I started to surround myself with others who inspired me to change. And so I always remind myself, I can be that voice for others. I can be the person that you trust and you can come to with all of your emotions and your desires and your ambitions, and I can inspire you to change. And I gotta tell you, no matter how bleak things seem at times, that always snaps me out of it and I can get right back in the game. And your why needs to be just as powerful for you. That's perseverance. So how do you become someone who perseveres? And I know I said earlier that you can't really take a training or class on this skill, but there are some things you can do to help improve your ability to persist. So here's the good news for starters. Perseverance is not, just a personality trait. It's not something that you're necessarily born with, right? It can be honed, it can be learned. But it has to be done in practice, right? It's not something you learn and you know in your brain. It's something you do. You have to enact it and live it out in your life. So there's hope from that perspective because we can do that. So one of the ways that you can improve your perseverance is just start by seeking honest feedback, but not necessarily from people who are just going to hype you up or who typically tear you down, but from those people who are really going to tell you the truth so that you can improve faster. Are you typically persistent? What have they observed? What examples can they share with you where you were or weren't displaying perseverance? And the more specific they can be, the better. Because once you know what that looks like in your life, you can replicate that. Or if you can see examples of when you weren't perseverant, then when you start to do those things again, you can catch yourself and snap out of it. The second thing you can do is engage in positive self-talk. Yes, I know people are always talking about self-talk, but it's because it works and it really does matter. The way you speak to yourself during setbacks is going to determine how long you stay in the game. So instead of berating yourself and saying something like, oh, I'm so bad at this, try something like, well, I'm learning. And your natural inclination is going to be negative self-talk. It's just kind of how we're wired. And I see it all the time. But the funny thing is, when I recommend writing out some positive affirmations, my clients almost always roll their eyes and they're like, oh, Karen, I know I should do this, but I just feel so stupid. And then I remind them, they didn't feel stupid when they were yelling at themselves. So why is this any stupider? And then they usually laugh and agree, and they thank me later when they've done them. So you've got to talk to yourself with love and care. Be your biggest cheerleader, because you know what? Nobody else is going to do it unless you're paying for a coach like myself, and then I will be your biggest cheerleader. But otherwise, no one else is going to do this for you. You have to do that for yourself. So give yourself that gift, because that is part of persevering. Okay, the third thing you can do is become BFFs with uncertainty and ambiguity, because entrepreneurship is uncomfortable by design. You are never going to have all the answers because you've never done this before. Perseverance says, I can move forward without all the answers. It also says, who can I connect with or work with who might have already done this? Just because you're comfortable with ambiguity doesn't mean you have to stay in that place of uncertainty. You can seek out support which is why a lot of women leaving corporate and starting businesses work with me, because they don't want to have to figure it out on their own. They want to pay for speed. So if you haven't made your corporate exit yet and you don't have the Empowered Exit Guide, you need to go grab a copy of that today at KarenFreeland.com/empowered-exit. It is the blueprint for how to confidently exit your corporate career, that six-figure salary, and do whatever it is that you want to do, whether that's start a business, become a speaker, a consultant, go to a nonprofit, doesn't matter. This is going to help you make that pivot. Okay, the fourth thing that you can do is to detach your worth from your results. And this is huge for those of you who are corporate high achievers, because you are not your revenue. You are not your engagement metrics. You are not your last launch or offer. You are a beautiful human being who is powerful, creative, courageous for making the leap, bold, designed for greatness, and deserving of joy. You are not your results. You are so much more than that. So don't you dare diminish yourself to that. So I know you still think you need that certification, that more experience, better branding for your business, a full-blown website, more confidence, another training. No. The women who actually succeed, they succeed because of perseverance, because they don't quit. That is the most important thing that you need on this journey. It will help you keep going when it feels awkward, when the weeks or the months are slow, and especially when no one is clapping or cheering you on. Perseverance beats talent every single time. And if you have perseverance, you're already qualified to leave corporate and build something meaningful. Don't let it hold you back any longer. I want to invite you to journal on the following question before you go. So grab out a piece of paper, write this down. I'm going to say it slowly. What would change if you trusted your ability to persevere instead of doubting your readiness? Really think about that. What would change if you trusted your ability to persevere instead of doubting your readiness? Sometimes you don't need more information. You just need permission to keep going. Until next time, persevere and go rock your reinvention. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take action by committing to one of the tips or strategies we talked about in today's episode. If you want more accountability and support, I've got your back. Book a complimentary Empowered Exit Strategy call today. Visit KarenFreeland.com to learn more and book your 45-minute session. Until next time, stay fabulous.